Hello, CNMS. My name's Emma Barnaby, and I am your student success coach in the Office of Advising for CNMS. Something that may be happening to you at some point in the semester, maybe it's already happened to you, is that you might get exposed to or become infected with COVID. And you might be asked to isolate or quarantine, whether that's in your room on campus or at your home. And it can be really tough to kind of keep going in terms of your semester if you have to be isolating and away from your resources like your libraries, your classrooms, your study partners, your tutors, etc. So I thought I would come to you here with some tips and tricks for how to make the most of your quarantine and isolation period. So what we're going to cover today is how to make a dedicated work and study space, how to make and stick to your schedule, and the importance of communication while in quarantine or isolation, because it's really easy to just kind of slide into a little bit of a scary place if you're completely alone or away from people that you normally see. So let's jump right into creating your workspace. One thing that's very important to remember and to to execute is that your workspace is not your relaxing space. So you should be working at your desk if you have one. You should not be working from your bed unless that is your only option for working. It's also really important that your workspace is clean and free from distractions. So before you get started, it's a really good idea to clean off your desk from clutter. Clutter can be just so mentally messy. And to make sure that you don't have as many, or you give yourself as few distractions as possible. And we'll keep talking about that on the next slide. The third thing is that you're going to need to give yourself certain things, like make sure you've got water or coffee or tea, or seltzer or juice, whatever kind of make sure you're hydrating. So whatever kind of hydration you need, although coffee and juice might not be the best options, but you might still need them. Make sure you've got a lot of light and you're set up to be able to see everything clearly, because the lower the light, the harder your eyes will have to work and the more tired you'll be. And make sure you've got snacks, because the best way to study is with a fully functioning brain. So give yourself what you need. And the next thing is to give yourself some things that make your workspace kind of comforting. A candle, something that a lot of people like to use. Some people like to put up a motivational quote or have a couple pictures. Don't make it completely sparse. So let's see. Next, we're going to talk about boundaries. So get your phone away from your workspace. Turn it on Do Not Disturb at least for the period that you're going to be studying. And don't let yourself even look at it, because the expression out of sight, out of mind really works. So put that away, pick it up when it's time to take a break. You might have to set a timer on your phone. That's okay. You can still put it out of sight. If the timer is on, you will still hear it. If you're on your computer, which I assume many of you will be, or your tablet or whatever you're using to study, use computer apps that can limit your time on social media. So you can just kind of set up timers for yourself, make sure that you're not going on social media at certain times of the day, and just kind of make sure to stay on track as much as possible. So if you need to set yourself limits, it's a good idea to do that. And there's no shame in that. A lot of people get really easily distracted by the internet. So that's not something that you need to be ashamed of, like I just said. Again, I'm going to repeat this. Don't study in bed. It's so easy to A, fall asleep, and B, just kind of get into this relaxing state of mind where you're not working as hard as you need to be working. So stick to your desk or your dedicated workspace unless you're relaxing. And the last thing is really the music doesn't really help people study, just sort of on principle. And you may say, music really helps me study. That may be true. And if you really know that to be true, then you can ignore this. But oftentimes sound is way more distracting than we think, especially if it has lyrics. So if you're going to study to music, try to stick to instrumental music or beats lo-fi beats are a good choice. A lot of people think or a lot of studies have shown that does tend to help rather than other music. All right, now we're going to talk about the importance of scheduling. So the first thing to do is to start the morning like you normally would. And that just really helps you get into the mindset of this is a normal day and I'm going to do my normal tasks. So that could include getting up at a normal time, getting dressed and showered, having breakfast at the same time, having lunch at the same time, having dinner at the same time. Now we're getting past the morning, but you know what I mean. Schedule your day as though you were going to leave your room and kind of stick to that as best as you can. When you create your schedule, and you should create a schedule for quarantine class and studying or isolation class and studying, the first thing you should schedule, and this may sound crazy, but I promise it works, is breaks and fun things. So you want to schedule breaks just like you would on a normal day. Like, let's say you like to get coffee with a friend. Schedule that 25 minutes or 30 minutes or hour out to do something. Maybe it's connect with that friend virtually. Maybe it's take a break to do something you like reading, or maybe exercising in your space, or whatever you like to do, just to kind of decompress. And then when you've kind of got all those set, then you can put your class blocks. Well, you might have to put your class blocks in there first if you're going to do virtual classes. But kind of class and breaks first, and then the study blocks. And that just really helps you to stay on track. People are so much more likely to follow a schedule if the breaks are included and you're not just pushing and pushing until you have to take a break. So you want to take a break before you get to the burnout, rather than when you get to the burnout, because that means that the study that happens before the burnout is not usually very productive. One thing you can really do to help yourself is to use study aids like timers. There's one technique called the Pomodoro technique, where you set a timer for 25 minutes and you study for those 25 minutes, then you take a break. Then you study for another 25 minutes and you take a break. And you do that 4 times, and then you take a longer break, like 30 minutes or an hour. So you can decide for yourself what's the best for that. And I would recommend, as your success coach, not studying the same thing for every 25-minute block. I would actually either alternate or study 4 completely different things for those 4 blocks, because giving yourself space to kind of absorb things that you're learning and studying, and then coming back to it maybe in the afternoon, that gives your brain a chance to work a lot harder to remember those things, and it helps you learn them a lot better. And the last thing is to make a to-do list and put it somewhere you can see it. So that could be a whiteboard, that could be a piece of paper on the wall, it could be a piece of paper on your desk. It could be even just on your phone, and you can go back to it every time you kind of finish an activity or a study session. And so it's good to be able to, number 1, see it, and number 2, cross or check things off, because you can really track how productive you're being if you can do that. And it's also kind of motivating you to cross more things off, because the more you get done, the more you can physically see all the things you've done today. Okay, so our last slide is about communication. So communicating is really important during an isolation or quarantine period. So check in with family and friends like you normally would during the day. This is when your phone will come in handy. Don't use it while studying, but definitely use your technology to keep in touch with people, whether that's texting, FaceTiming, playing games with people virtually, any kind of thing like that, just like you normally would. And you might have to schedule it now that you're quarantining or isolating, but it can still be really helpful. To avoid study and test anxiety and school anxiety from being out for a few days, or, not present at anything you would normally be at in person, it's a really good idea to communicate with your professors and TAs and advisors. They should be aware of your situation. One would hope that they would be empathetic, because this is something that's going to happen to a lot of their students. So make sure to let professors know, ask if there's anything extra that you need to do to get caught up, make a plan to go and see them if you think that you're going to be behind because of this. So really focus on self-awareness here. Make sure that you are doing the right thing for you to succeed during and after your quarantine or isolation. And like I said, plan lots of virtual social activity. Isolation anxiety is a different kind of anxiety, which a lot of people can get just because they're not seeing people like they normally would. Humans are really social creatures, regardless of how extroverted or introverted we are. So do your best to really plan things and stick to those plans. You don't want to be backing out and really isolating yourself even more than you have to be. And if you're on the other side of this, like if you're a friend who doesn't have COVID or hasn't been exposed, and your friends have been, do what you can for those people in isolation. Check in with them, plan activities like over FaceTime or over Google Meet or over WebEx or Zoom, Skype, whatever technology you like to use. Plan things with them to kind of help take their mind off their isolation. And it's kind of a bad situation. So make sure you're really there for each other. And in that same vein, we are here for you. So you can meet with me. I'm student success coach for CNMS. My meeting link is calendly.com/ebarnaby. You can also send me an email at ebarnaby@umbc.edu. I can help you with things like accountability, isolation anxiety, especially with regards to academic things, or anything else you might need help with. And you can also go check out the resources at the Academic Success Center at the link below. Academic Success Center is great. They have lots of very broad services, whereas I'm mostly available to help you with motivation, study techniques and tips, grit, accountability, graduation planning, that kind of thing. So we're here for you. Please use the resources at UMBC. It's literally our jobs to help you, and we really want to. So I hope that this has been helpful, and get in touch if you need anything. Thanks so much for watching.